Hi everyone, welcome to my new home and sanctuary. I hope your homes have become sanctuaries to all of you as well. This is a first in a series of engagements that I'm going to be doing over these next weeks, months, hope it's not that long, in an effort to offer some teaching, some learning about Jewish prayer and music, how they are woven together. And before I finish today, I want to focus on a few prayers that hopefully give us some comfort, some patience, some wisdom for these trying times. But before I get to that, I'd like to start with a little context. And that means going back in history, just a few centuries, in fact. First thing I'd like to share is that singing and prayer have been inextricably woven together for many, many centuries. We know this is true, that human beings, the human species, is designed to sing and pray. We know that because every civilization, every culture throughout history has created its own song and its prayers, its forms of worship. This is common to every human being. So song and prayer is not something that we do because we necessarily want to. It's something that we do because we need to, and it's something we do because we are human. It's what human beings do. Birds fly and sing. Human beings sing and pray. Every culture, every civilization since the beginning of human history. So we start with that understanding. And now just a few words about our own Jewish musical prayer tradition, which begins in our ancient past. The psalmists began writing these beautiful psalms of poetry and song. Most of the psalms begin with a phrase like, Shiru Ladonai, sing to God. Sing, sing, sing. And they began writing the Psalms sometime around the 9th century BCE, 3,000 years ago. And many of the words of those Psalms are still very much on our lips to this day. Hine Matov, a melody we all are familiar with, several melodies. There are probably hundreds of melodies for Hine Matov. A few that we're very familiar with are very recent melodies. Came out of Israel in the late 1960s and 70s. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim. You know the rest. There are hundreds more. That opening verse of the Psalm 133 was probably composed somewhere between the 3rd and the 5th centuries BCE. The wisdom of our ancient psalmists is very much present with each of us today. The ancient temple in Jerusalem, singing of psalms, singing of prayer texts as our people created them over the centuries. And they've all come down to us today, and they serve the same purpose, I believe, that they did in ancient times. As human beings, we have this biological need, really, to sing and to pray. A wonderful anthropologist, musician, neuroscientist, Daniel Levitin, wrote 2 amazing books. The first one was titled, This Is Your Brain on Music. And the second one was titled, The World in 6 Songs, How Music Shaped the Human Brain. Not the other way around. Not how the brain shaped music, but how music shaped the human brain. And his argument is that we sing and pray, for that matter, because it's what human beings do by our very biological nature. We go back to the ancient temple, where there's a temple orchestra and a temple choir for many, many centuries. When the temple is destroyed ultimately in 70 of the Common Era, a whole new world of prayer begins with the early synagogue. New prayer texts, new ways of expressing them. So that's our background. That's part one. We know that human beings sing and pray just because we are human. It's what we do. And what do we pray for? What have we prayed for all these many centuries? We pray out of a sense of wonder at the miracle of life itself. We look outward to the heavens, to the oceans, to the trees, to the flowers, to the entire natural world, and we wonder and we express our wonderment and joy at this encounter with all of life. And we also reach out to the heavens, to God, to a spirit, to some kind of spirituality, to connect to the universe. And often we do that in praise of the world, in praise of God. And yes, we also ask for things too when we're in need. So we have prayers of gratitude, prayers of wonder of life, prayers asking for things that we need. And we also cry out to God when we're in pain and we're suffering. And those latter prayers, I believe we're all in need of today, certainly, as we go through this really crazy time. But we're all in it together. And Hine Ma Tov addresses, I believe, that particular need that says how beautiful and pleasant it is for all human beings to live, to dwell, to be together. It's probably the hardest thing we're going through now, is that we are separated physically from one another. It's one thing to talk on the phone or FaceTime or in a Zoom meeting like this one. It's a totally different matter to be in one's physical presence with another human being. And the psalmist, I believe, understood that, how beautiful it is for human beings to be together. Another one of our ancient prayers that we recite every evening of the week, the Hashkivenu prayer, also ancient, many centuries old, expresses this desire every night that we lie down in peace and that we wake up in the morning. Number one, that we wake up alive. And that we ask God to bring us to life through the terrors of the night. And it enumerates a whole series of dangers. Save us, protect us from our enemies, from plague, from the sword, from violence, from famine, all these things. And until recently, as Rabbi Leader has taught many times now, when we think about this prayer, our ancient ancestors had a lot more to fear in their daily lives. They truly wondered whether or not they would live for another day. And here we are wondering about the same thing today. And the Hashkivenu prayer has also many, many, many settings. The one we're most familiar with now is a contemporary setting, composed by our colleagues here in Los Angeles, Rabbi Yoshi Zweibach and Rabbi Ken Chasen. And it really captures this beautiful, gentle yearning, especially in the latter section of the piece. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Those words have a particularly powerful meaning for us today. The word shelter. We find shelter, finding shelter in our own homes now because we have to. Of course, the Misha Barak prayer. The Misha Barak prayer was inserted also many centuries ago in the middle of the Torah service, when anyone would be called to the Torah, for the honor of reciting from the Torah, they'd receive this blessing, which asks God to preserve them in life, to protect them. And the Misha Barak prayer that we're all familiar with too, this contemporary setting, written by our late great colleague Debbie Friedman, also back in the 1970s, sung in both Hebrew and English. For those who are watching, I know that there's a link attached to this. You'll be able to go to the link and listen to some of these melodies sung by me, and find some solace, find some comfort, as we always do when we sing music and when we listen to music. It is our eternal blessing. So I urge you to do that. I urge you to look online and see what we're offering. Friday night services, Shabbat morning, Havdalah, teachings from all of our clergy. We're all here each and every day now to find ways to connect with you and bring you teaching and learning and engagement. And we will get through all of this together and come out the other side stronger and perhaps more whole than ever before. Thank you. I'll be seeing you soon.